He was a Nigerian billionaire, broken, angry, certain he could never be a father. One night, one club, one mistake he thought meant nothing. 3 years later, a knock at his gate, a woman from his past, and 2 children who called him daddy. What if the doctor was wrong? What if the woman he dismissed held the only truth of his life? And what happens when a powerful mother who once chased her away comes face to face with twins who carry her blood? Secrets, regret, love, and a miracle no one saw coming. Like if you believe destiny never makes mistakes. Subscribe if you want more emotional, dramatic Nigerian stories filled with romance, suspense, and unexpected twists. Because this story is only just beginning. The rain had just finished washing Lagos clean, leaving the city glowing under streetlights like polished gold. Inside Club Elysium, everything sparkled. Crystal chandeliers, mirrored walls, leather booths imported from Italy, and the low hum of money, power, and secrets. This was home. At least it used to be. Akinwale Adeyemi sat alone in the VIP section, his long legs stretched out, suit jacket discarded beside him. His white shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, exposing a gold chain resting against his chest. In front of him were half-empty glasses of champagne and whiskey, untouched plates of gourmet food, and a silence that screamed louder than the music. The doctor's voice replayed in his head like a cruel joke. "Sir, you cannot impregnate a woman." He scoffed and lifted his glass. "Cheers to useless doctors," he muttered, downing the drink in one gulp. A waiter rushed over nervously. "Another bottle, sir?" "Bring 2, Akinwale snapped, "and stop looking at me like I'm about to cry." The waiter bowed and disappeared. Across the club, laughter floated freely. Men showing off watches worth houses, women dressed in silk and confidence. Everyone was alive. Everyone except him. The report that broke him. Just hours earlier, Akinwale had sat in a pristine private hospital, staring at a cream-colored wall decorated with meaningless art. The air smelled of disinfectant and lies. The doctor adjusted his glasses, clearing his throat too many times. "Sir, after several tests, we've concluded that your chances of getting a woman pregnant are almost non-existent." Almost. But Akinwale only heard one word. Impossible. "So all these women," he began, then stopped. The doctor looked away. Akinwale laughed sharply. "You mean I've been shooting blanks all my life?" "Sir, save it." He stood up abruptly. "Send the bill." And that was how he ended up in Club Elysium, drowning in alcohol and anger. He noticed her without trying. She wasn't loud. She wasn't overdressed. She wasn't chasing money with her eyes. She sat at the bar, stirring a drink she clearly wasn't enjoying, her shoulders slightly slumped, as if the world had sat on them all day. Eva. He didn't know her name yet, but something about her calm sadness irritated him and pulled him in. He stood up unsteadily and walked toward her. "You look like someone who regrets being here," he said. She glanced at him slowly. "And you look like someone who owns the place." Akinwale smirked. "Close enough." She turned back to her drink. "I'm not interested," she added. That should have stopped him. It didn't. He reached out suddenly and grabbed her hand. "Come with me." She jerked back. "Excuse me?" His eyes were dark, clouded, reckless. "Just for tonight," he said. "I don't want to be alone." She hesitated. "Do you always drag strangers like this?" she asked. "Only when life disappoints me." Something in his voice cracked her resolve. "Fine," she sighed. The mansion. The car ride was silent, Lagos lights blurring past tinted windows. Eva watched him from the corner of her eye, this powerful man who suddenly looked small. His mansion loomed like royalty when they arrived. Tall gates, soft golden lights, fountains whispering wealth. Inside, everything smelled like money and loneliness. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. Pain met pain, and for one night, 2 broken people forgot the world. Morning comes too fast. Sunlight filtered through heavy curtains, touching Eva's face gently. She smiled in her sleep, until a sharp voice shattered the calm. "Akinwale!" She jolted upright. At the doorway stood a woman dressed in expensive lace, her eyes sharp as knives. Akinwale groaned. Mama. The woman's gaze landed on Eva, cold, measuring. I hope she is not one of your club girls. Eva's heart sank. Akinwale rubbed his face and replied lazily, What is the difference? That was the moment Eva knew. This wasn't a fairy tale, and her life was about to change forever. Eva did not cry immediately. She walked out of the mansion with her head held high, even though her legs felt like rubber, and her chest burned like something precious had been ripped out. The gates closed behind her with a slow, mocking clang. Only then did she stop. Only then did the tears come. She wiped her face angrily. Stupid night, she muttered. Stupid hope. Akinwale Adeyemi did not follow her. Not even a phone call. And that hurt more than his mother's words. Inside the mansion. Back inside, Akinwale sat up, rubbing his temples. His head pounded, not from alcohol, but from irritation. Mama, must you always embarrass me? He asked. His mother adjusted her gele and sat on the velvet armchair like a queen reclaiming her throne. Akinwale, I raised you better than this, she said sharply. Bringing club girls into this house? Into my son's bed? He scoffed. You chased her away like a stray dog. And I would do it again, she snapped. Those girls bring trouble. Mark my words. He waved her off. Leave it. She stood, paused at the door and added, A man without discipline ends up with regrets. He laughed bitterly. Regrets? What else was new? Weeks later, Eva's life returned to normal, or what passed for it. She worked long hours, ignored the whispers at the club, and tried to forget the billionaire with sad eyes and a mansion full of silence. Until the sickness started. At first, she blamed stress. Then the dizziness came, the constant tiredness, the mornings that made her gag at the smell of food. One evening, her friend Tola stared at her suspiciously. Eva, she said slowly, when last did you see your period? Eva froze. The room went quiet. The truth. The pregnancy test slipped from her fingers and landed on the bathroom floor. Positive. She stared at it, laughing softly like someone who had lost her mind. No, she whispered. This is not possible. She thought of him. Her heart raced. If I tell him, he won't believe me. They'll insult me. His mother will destroy me. She sat on the bathroom floor, hugging her knees. I'll do this alone, she decided shakily. I have to. A growing secret. Months passed. Her belly grew. Her strength surprised her. She left the club, found a small business, and leaned on quiet courage. Nights were the hardest, when fear crept in and questions had no answers. Sometimes she wondered if she should tell him, but then she remembered his voice that morning. What is the difference? And she stayed silent. 9 months later. The labor was long, painful, lonely, but when the cries filled the room, everything changed. Congratulations, the nurse said, smiling. You have twins. Eva sobbed. A boy, a girl, perfect, alive, hers. She held them close and whispered, I will protect you, always. 3 years of strength. Eva raised them with fierce love. Damilola was stubborn and bold, always asking questions. Dara was quiet, observant, with eyes that missed nothing. Sometimes Damilola would push away his food and say, Mummy, I won't eat. Why? She'd ask tiredly. I want my daddy. Those words cut deep every time, and slowly the secret became heavier than fear. One night, after putting them to bed, Eva sat alone and stared at the ceiling. They deserve to know, she whispered, and, for the first time in 3 years, she thought of returning to the mansion, not for herself, for the truth. Like and subscribe to continue this gripping Nigerian billionaire romance, because the past is about to collide with the present, and nothing will ever be the same again. Eva always knew this day would come. She just didn't know it would start with cereal. The morning sun poured into their small but neat apartment, bouncing off the cream-colored walls and illuminating the modest Nigerian decor. Woven baskets, framed Ankara patterns, and a standing fan humming faithfully in the corner. Eva placed 2 bowls of cereal on the small dining table. "Come and eat," she called. Damilola climbed onto his chair, crossed his arms dramatically, and stared at the bowl like it had personally offended him. "I said I won't eat." Eva sighed. "Dami, please, I'm late for work." Dara, already seated, tilted her head. "Is it because of Daddy again?" Eva froze. Damilola nodded fiercely. "Yes, other children have daddy, I don't." Eva swallowed hard. "You do have a daddy. Where is he?" Damilola asked quickly. Silence. The boy stood up suddenly. "If I don't see him today, I won't eat forever." Eva raised an eyebrow. "Forever? You didn't eat biscuit 2 hours ago." Dara giggled. Damilola frowned. That was different. Despite herself, Eva smiled, but the ache in her chest refused to ease. Questions she could no longer avoid. That evening, after dinner and cartoons, Eva tucked them into bed. Dara hugged her teddy bear, eyes already sleepy. Damilola, however, looked wide awake, planning something. "Money," he said softly. "Did Daddy die?" Eva's heart skipped. "No," she answered quickly. "He's alive." "Then why did he leave?" Dara asked, her voice innocent but sharp. Eva sat on the edge of the bed, suddenly feeling very small. "Sometimes," she began carefully, "grown-ups make mistakes." Damilola sat up. "Did Daddy make mistake or you?" Eva laughed weakly. "Both." The boy nodded thoughtfully. "Okay, can we see him now?" She closed her eyes. That was the moment she knew. The decision. That night, Eva lay awake staring at the ceiling as Lagos traffic hummed outside. 3 years. 3 years of silence. 3 years of fear. She remembered the mansion, the gold, the marble, the cold dismissal. She remembered his mother's eyes. What if they reject the children? What if he insults me? What if he sends us away? Then she remembered Damilola's stubborn hunger strikes and Dara's quiet longing. "They deserve answers," she whispered. Decision made. Elsewhere, a man still broken, Akinwale Adeyemi stood in his living room, staring at the city through floor-to-ceiling windows. The decor screamed luxury: Italian leather sofas, a glass coffee table, abstract Nigerian art, but none of it comforted him. His mother's voice echoed from earlier that day. "You are not getting younger," she said. "Who will carry your name?" He had laughed bitterly. "What name? The one that dies with me?" He loosened his tie and poured himself a drink. Infertile, billionaire, alone, packing the past. Back in her apartment, Eva packed a small bag. Not clothes, documents, birth certificates, hospital records, photographs. Dara peeked into the bag. "Are we traveling?" Eva replied softly. "To see Daddy?" Damilola asked, eyes shining. She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." The boy grinned. "Good. I will tell him I like cars." Dara added calmly, "I will tell him not to shout." Eva laughed and cried at the same time. The gate they would face. The next morning, they stood outside a towering gate, tall, black, guarded, intimidating. Damilola looked up in awe. "Daddy lives here?" Eva exhaled slowly. "Yes." She walked to the gate and spoke to the security calmly. "Please tell Mr. Akinwale Adeyemi that Eva is here." The guard glanced at the twins, then back at her. "Madam, he didn't say he was expecting children." Eva met his gaze steadily. "Neither did I." Inside the mansion, a phone rang, and with that ring, the past began knocking. Like and subscribe to continue, because the gate is about to open, and nothing will ever be the same again. The mansion was silent in a way that made even the marble floors feel cold. Golden sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, catching on the abstract Nigerian art and the rows of crystal vases lining the hallway. The city of Lagos buzzed outside, oblivious to the storm about to hit Akinwale Adeyemi's perfect world. He was in the living room, sprawled on the leather sofa, swirling whiskey in a glass that cost more than most people earned in a year. His thoughts were heavy and dark, until the phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID. Unknown. He frowned but answered anyway. "Sir, a woman is at the gate," the voice said. She says she's Eva, and she has 2 children with her. Akinwale laughed bitterly, thinking it was a joke. Unknown numbers telling stories? I don't have time for this. Sir, the boy looks exactly like you. The words froze him mid-swallow. The glass of whiskey trembled in his hand. The arrival. The gate swung open, and there she was, Eva, standing tall, holding hands with 2 small children. Damilola's eyes were wide, scanning the mansion as if he was already claiming it. Dara clung to her mother's side, looking observant but cautious. Damilola was the first to speak. Are you my daddy? Because Mummy said you are. Akinwale's knees went weak. He wanted to laugh, he wanted to deny it, but the resemblance, his sharp jawline mirrored in the boy's face, his intense eyes reflected in the girl, made him swallow the truth. Yes, he said softly, voice cracking. I think I am. Damilola grinned triumphantly. Good, now I can eat. Dara stepped forward, shy but curious. You look like you, Mommy said. Akinwale knelt slowly to meet their eyes. The mansion felt warmer, softer, alive in a way it hadn't been in years. First impressions. Eva stood silently, watching him, her arms crossed. She had rehearsed what she would say, the way she would introduce the children, but words seemed small compared to the moment. I didn't expect you to believe me, she admitted finally. Akinwale's throat tightened. I don't know what to believe anymore. The doctor, the tests, everything. He looked at the twins again, feeling a strange mix of awe and fear. But these 2, he swallowed hard. They're mine? They are, Eva said firmly, and they deserve to know their father. Damilola tugged at Akinwale's sleeve. Come on, Daddy, show me your car. Akinwale laughed, a sound rusty from disuse. We'll see about that, he said, scooping the boy up into his arms. Dara watched quietly, then tiptoed forward to hold his hand. The mother appears. A sudden voice from the hallway made everyone jump. Akinwale Adeyemi. It was his mother. Her eyes widened as she took in the scene. Her hand clutched her gele tightly. Jesus, she whispered. That boy has your father's face. Eva met her gaze calmly. Hello, ma'am. I think it's time you meet your grandchildren. The woman who had once chased Eva away looked powerless. The twins tugged at her clothes, Damilola demanding attention, Dara silently observing every reaction. Akinwale's mother finally exhaled. I see. Well. Her voice softened. I suppose the past cannot be undone. A new beginning. That evening the mansion echoed with laughter. Tiny feet pattered across the marble floors, small hands clinging to the billionaire who had once thought he was broken. Damilola was telling his father stories about toy cars as if they were stock market reports. Dara was teaching him which paintings were cool and which were boring. Akinwale sat back, glass in hand, watching his children take over the home. He turned to Eva. You were right, he said softly. I underestimated miracles. Eva smiled, tired but triumphant. Sometimes one night changes everything. And for the first time in years, Akinwale Adeyemi believed that even the impossible could happen. Morning came differently in the Adeyemi mansion. It wasn't the usual quiet elegance or the echo of footsteps from domestic staff. This morning came with noise. Daddy! 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 Akinwale jolted awake as a small body jumped on his bed. Jesus Christ, he groaned. Who trained you? Damilola grinned proudly. Mummy trained me. Dara climbed up more gently and sat beside him. Good morning, Daddy. You were snoring. Akinwale stared at the ceiling, then at the 2 tiny humans smiling at him like he was their favorite cartoon character. So this was fatherhood. He laughed softly. Good morning, my attackers. Mama Adeyemi watches from the doorway. His mother stood quietly. She had risen early, as always, wrapped in expensive silk and dignity. But today, something in her chest felt unfamiliar, warm. She watched her son, her proud, stubborn son, reduced to helpless laughter by 2 children she had once unknowingly chased away. The boy had her late husband's face, The girl had her son's eyes. Blood, truth, legacy. Her throat tightened. Breakfast trouble. Breakfast was chaos. Damilola refused to eat eggs. Dara insisted her juice cup was looking at her somehow. Akinwale was trying and failing to maintain billionaire composure. Damilola, he said seriously, this egg costs more than your shoe. So, the boy replied, I don't like it. Eva covered her mouth to hide a smile. Mama Adeyemi cleared her throat loudly. Everyone turned. She looked at the twins carefully, then spoke. Come and sit with me. Damilola squinted. Are you Daddy's mummy? Yes, she said softly, which makes me your grandmother. He nodded approvingly. Okay, but I still don't like egg. She laughed. Actually laughed. The room froze. Eva's eyes widened. Akinwale nearly dropped his fork. Mama Adeyemi reached for Damilola's plate and calmly replaced the eggs with plantain. Eat, she said. Children should not be forced like prisoners. Eva swallowed hard. Was this the same woman? The apology. Later that afternoon, Mama Adeyemi asked Eva to join her in the sitting room. The twins were busy chasing a house help down the hallway, screaming like tiny generals. Eva entered cautiously. The older woman gestured for her to sit. I owe you an apology, Mama Adeyemi said quietly. Eva stiffened. For years, she continued, I judged women like you. I thought I was protecting my son. She sighed deeply. But I almost destroyed my own bloodline. Eva's eyes filled with tears. I chased you away without listening, Mama Adeyemi said. Yet you carried my grandchildren with dignity, alone. She reached out and held Eva's hand. Thank you. Eva broke down. Ma, I was afraid, she whispered. I didn't want trouble. Mama Adeyemi nodded. You gave me grandchildren. From today, you are no longer an outsider in this house. A son's realization. Akinwale overheard everything from the hallway. For the first time in his life, he saw his mother not as an unshakable force, but as a woman who could admit fault. He walked in slowly. Mama, he said softly. She looked up. I was wrong, Akinwale. He exhaled shakily. I was wrong too. They shared a moment, one filled with regret, forgiveness, and something new. Peace. A grandmother's love. That evening, Mama Adeyemi sat on the floor. On the floor, playing with toy cars. Damilola pushed one toward her. Grandma, this one is you. This one is Daddy. This one is me. She smiled proudly. And where is Dara? Dara placed a card gently beside them. I am here. I'm the boss. Mama Adeyemi laughed again. Yes, I can see that. She pulled them both into her arms. My children, she whispered. You are home. Eva watched from a distance, tears sliding down her cheeks. Akinwale wrapped an arm around her shoulders. You're staying, he said firmly. She looked up. What if— No more running, he interrupted. This is your home too. Redemption had come quietly, through laughter, through children, through love that refused to be ignored. Like and subscribe to continue this emotional Nigerian billionaire romance, because love is blooming and old wounds are healing.